Good morning, good afternoon, good night. This is the first official episode of Worst Case Scenario. I'm Lupita, here with Nicholas and Alexas, and today we're discussing how our peers and fellow teens are reacting to the upcoming election.
2020 has brought us all many surprises, whether they're good or bad. And personally, I feel as though this election has been the feistiest with everything that has been going on, such as, the passing of RBG, the pandemic, Black Lives Matter, the wildfires, and so much more. Many individuals have been getting into the upcoming election, and actually, even Gen Z has been expressing their feelings on it. Personally, I'm nervous for the upcoming election because things can get better or can literally go straight downhill, which is why I've been trying my best to encourage people to vote. It's important to realize that this isn't just some little election, this is the election. This election is going to determine many things, such as if women keep their reproductive rights, if the LGBTQIA plus keep their rights, if community colleges will become tuition free, if trans individuals will be able to serve in the military, if tribal lands will be restored. I mean, the list can go on and on. But how do you guys feel about the upcoming election?
You made a lot of good points there, Alexas. I personally, as a member of Gen Z, can agree with the statement that you said that members of Gen Z have been more politically aware for this election than they have been in the past. Because personally, for the 2016 election, I hardly knew what was going on. But this time around, I'm actually staying very informed, and I've been looking into many different articles and many different news statements, as well as different statements that the political candidates themselves put out. And I'm extremely worried for the upcoming election, and there's no question why, because you just told us all of the reasons why we need to be worried and we need to be informed, and why our vote needs to count.
Yeah, I actually completely agree. Like with what Nick said, the 2016 election, it was easy not to care because we were little, we could not vote. And this election, I feel so many Gen Zers have the same mindset, and we can't vote yet, that is the truth, but I feel it's still important, like, to keep up and to stay up to date. By the time we graduate, this president will still be in office, so we will still be affected by this decision. So it's important to stay informed and, like Alexa said, to motivate others to vote as much as we can. Another thing, I think it's important to realize that just because someone's a Democrat does not mean they immediately support Biden. And the same goes for the Republican Party. It doesn't mean that they immediately support Trump. This is a hard decision to make, especially considering the two options we have. There's a lot to take into consideration. And I would like to mention from 2016, voters did such a good job. According to census.gov, new voters, the turnout rates from the 2018 midterm election was a 79% jump from voters between 18 and 29. And I think it's so important that we keep the same energy in this election, more so now because the stakes are so high.
I like what you said about how just because someone's a Democrat doesn't mean they will be voting for Biden, as well as just because someone's a Republican doesn't mean they'll be voting for Trump. Because I personally have heard from many Republicans and Democrats that they will not be voting with their corresponding candidate, and that they will actually be voting for the candidate of the opposite party simply because they do not agree with the candidate to their corresponding party.
Yeah, of course. And especially because you have to take into consideration, like, yes, they represent your party, but they also have done a lot of things. Like, I'm not gonna name names, and I'm not gonna say list all the things that each candidate has done wrong, but we realize there is no great choice for this election. There's bad and there's worse. And really, you need to choose which one you think is which.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking on how we need to keep that same energy and how younger voters have brought, you know, this new sense of, as I said earlier, political awareness and being more informed and active in the voting booths. One of the main ways that some of the younger generations have been able to stay more informed has been through social media, which is something that just a few elections ago, it wasn't as easy to access this news and information through social media as it is today.
Yeah, of
So
course.
that's definitely a main
Mhm.
contributor as to how we are getting more information now and how this information is being spread around to these younger people to let them be more informed.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, most of the news I get regarding politics comes from social media. I don't really watch the news on TV anymore, and like I follow news pages on Instagram or I get trending topics on Twitter. But it's interesting because when you think of social media, you don't necessarily think of news. But I realized lately it's one of the best ways for teens and new voters to become more involved and active in politics. It's not just following a political page on Instagram, it's also uh, sharing, posting, linking whatever you believe in and your political views to get them out there to other people so they can do the same.
Furthering your point on that, I definitely agree with what you said there. And I personally have followed a couple of news accounts on Instagram and on Twitter. And I do read the news articles from the news app on my phone a couple of times, but not typically, Typically, I
Yeah.
will see someone else post about current events, usually to do with politics. And then I will take my own time to go ahead and do background research into this, see if this is true, see the context of this, and then I will make my own conclusion as to what I think about that situation.
Nick, I love what you said about doing your own research because this is a very debatable question. Yeah, social media is full of political topics, and yeah, you can get your news on there, but it's also a platform where everyone can share their opinion. So it can be really hard to be fully educated on a topic simply by looking on social media. I actually think that kqed.org does a good job at explaining this. They share some tips on how to make your social media feed more diverse. And like you said, that includes doing your own background research and making your own opinion about it.
Okay, just because I am curious, have you guys ever engaged in any political topics or debates on social media?
That's a tough question.
Quite a number of times.
A few times, yeah.
Mhm. Because personally, I don't engage in political topics anymore on social media, but I do advocate my political views and the importance of voting. But when I was starting to get into politics, I would have these debates with relatives and friends, which obviously had a different political stance as me. However, they were very in denial. So I just stopped with all the debates because you can provide all these facts with sources, credible articles, infographics, and videos, but a person will ignore all of that. Just this past weekend, I observed a little debate going on in someone's comment section,
Ooh.
and of
Ooh.
course I had to check that out, girl. But I held back on commenting because I knew that one, my comment would be ignored or deleted, as I've already seen many comments have been deleted under that post. And two, the person wouldn't believe the information I was providing. So I didn't see a point in me commenting, but to hit like on the comments that were spicy.
Spicy. I
Yeah.
love, yeah.
Oh, sorry, you can go.
Okay, thank you. Speaking of this past weekend, it's interesting because the person, I won't say who, they were very for. Let me restart that. The person that we were talking about, they were really interested in learning the facts, and they even went as far as to say, if you would like to talk more about the facts, then DM me. But it was a little interesting because as soon as some comments with actual stated facts and research were put, they immediately got deleted.
And, that's a perfect example of the turmoil that is going on between the different political parties right now. Because even if someone says, oh, yeah, I'm willing to have a one on one conversation with them, if you provide them with facts that they can't refute, they're just going to cut it off. Probably there's a good chance that they're just going to cut it off, and they're just going to be like, nope. They're just going to be stubborn and stick to their beliefs and be like, I tried to have a conversation with you and inform you, but you just aren't listening, just simply because you provide facts.
It can be very hard to change someone's opinion with facts. That's what I've learned throughout this debate.
Exactly. No matter how much evidence you have, many people are convinced that the evidence is false or that the opposing party is simply faking evidence in order to ruin their candidate's chance of winning the election. And as I was speaking about earlier, how we were talking about in the comments section, and that somewhat has to do with social media. Sure, social media and places like the comment section can be a good place to become more informed on the opposing political